Hi, this is Matt with AppliancePartsPros.com. Today we'll be showing you how to repair your appliance. Remember, anytime you work on an appliance, make sure it's unplugged or the circuit breakers are off so there's no chance of electrocution. Also make sure you turn off your hot and cold water supplies. In this video we're going to show you how to change out the gear case. It's going to be a very easy repair and should only take a few minutes to show you how to do it. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can click on the link below or get it from AppliancePartsPros.com. Here's our new gear case. This is where the coupler mounts. This is where the clutch mounts. This is the shaft. These are the teeth that hold the agitator. And the agitator hold down bolt goes right here. The main reasons you want to change out the gear case is that it's having a problem with either the spin cycle or the agitate cycle. Maybe one of the gears inside is stripped out. First we have to go ahead and open up the washer lid to gain access to the inside of the washer. We have to go ahead and remove the fabric dispenser. Our particular model just pulls off. Other fabric dispensers may have a lock ring that you have to pull up on to disengage and then lift up on the fabric dispenser, and then there's probably going to be a cap underneath it. You'll have to pry off the cap with a flathead screwdriver. Most models have a dust cap. We need to pull it out so we can get to the agitator bolt. If the dust cap seal is damaged, you should order a new one from AppliancePartsPros.com. Underneath the dust cap is the inner agitator assembly and the agitator hold down bolt. So grab your 7/16 inch socket with a long extension. When you first start to take out the bolt, it may be a little tight, so you have to reach down inside the tub and hold the lower agitator while you break it free. Once you feel that the bolt is all the way out of the threads, lift the agitator out of the washer. Some models, once you take the agitator off, have the little retaining clip and a plastic piece down in here. So just grab your pliers and pull that off, and then lift the plastic piece off. We need to remove the fill hoses so we can lay the machine down. Grab your channel locks and break them free. Once you have them loose, you can just turn them by hand. We can remove the clamp. Just grab it with your pliers, slide it up a little bit on the hose, and pull the hose off this white fitting. We're going to have to lay the machine on its back for this repair, so go ahead and grab a towel and put it down on the floor to protect the floor from the washer. When you're putting the washer down, it's very heavy, so get some help if you need it. Now that we have the machine laid down, we have access to the underside of the machine so we can do the repair. First thing we have to do is get the pump out of the way. It's held in by these two clips that we can pry off with our flathead screwdriver. Once you get them off, just turn them 90 degrees and the bottoms will come out of the motor. There's one on the bottom and one on the top. Once we have these out of the way, you can lift the pump off the motor and swing it up out of the way. We have to disconnect the electrical connection to the motor. It's held in by this little tab that you can lift up on with a flathead screwdriver and pull the wire connector off. Then we have to remove the wiring harness from the gear case mount. So you take your flathead screwdriver, pry this little clamp out, and get the wires out of there. The gear case is held in by 3 bolts. 1/2 inch. Let's go ahead and remove them all. Before we remove the gear case, we'll lay a towel on the floor. It's probably going to have some oil on it. Now that we have everything disconnected, we can pull the gear case out. Before we can put the new gear case in, we have to remove the motor and all the accessories off the old one and get it ready to put on the new one. So we need to remove the 1/4 inch screws that hold in the clips. You can take your flathead screwdriver, pop off the 2 retaining clips. Don't let the motor fall, hold on to it. To get these brackets out of the plate, turn them 90 degrees and pull them out. One of the grommets stuck in the motor mounting plate, so make sure you get all 4 grommets off and keep them with the motor. Next we have to remove the bolts that hold on the mounting plate. It's 1/2 inch. Now that we have the plate off, we can take off the wire holder, squeeze it with the pliers, and push it out of the hole. Next we have to remove the coupler. You can get behind it with a small flathead screwdriver and pry it off. Maybe a little tight, but should come off fairly easy. And last we have to take off the clutch. In order to get the clutch off, we have to first remove this washer. Then we have to remove this retaining clip that you can pry off with a flathead screwdriver. It just slides into a couple slots on the side of the shaft. We have to reuse that. And then we have to remove this little retaining ring, which you can just get with a flathead screwdriver and pop it out. Once you have those retaining rings off, we can lift the clutch off the gear case. Here's the old gear case next to the new gear case. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can get it from AppliancePartsPros.com. We'll start with the clutch. Just lower it down over the shaft. Make sure it sits down in the little grooves. Then we have to put in the retaining ring, which hooks into this hole on the clutch. And then with a flathead screwdriver, go ahead and lock it into place. So once you get them in there on the other side, just lock it in place with the screwdriver. Once we have the retaining ring in, we can put in the locking clip, which just goes in the slots in the shaft and locks into place. Then we can put the washer back on. Next we're going to install the motor plate. Next we'll put the coupler back on the gear case shaft. It has 2 flats on it. Make sure you line them up. And then take a hammer and a screwdriver handle and tap it down until it's flush. The reason we use the screwdriver handle is when you're tapping it down, it'll only allow the shaft to go flush with the coupler. Next we'll go ahead and put the motor back on. So make sure that on the gear case side, one of the coupler legs is at 12 o'clock and that the hole on the motor is at 12 o'clock. So when you slide it on, it'll go in nice and easy. Once you have it in there, hold it up. Go ahead and put the upper clip in the bracket, turn it 90 degrees, and lock it down over the motor. And then do the bottom one. And then reinstall the screws that hold the clips on the motor. Next we have to put in the wiring harness clip. It just presses into the hole. Then we have to take a small drill or needle and make sure we clear out the top of this hole. If we don't, it doesn't have a breather hole and it might overpressurize the gear case. Before we put the gear case back in, we have to make sure that the brake cam driver and the clutch spring are lined up opposite. Otherwise, when you put them in, the brake cam will hit the spring and it won't go in all the way. Now that we have the gear case reassembled, we can go ahead and put it back into the machine. When you push it down onto the mounting legs, they have little lips on them. So once you seat it, you don't have to worry about it falling off. Now we can put in the bolts that hold the gear case in. Next we can reroute the wiring harness through the wire harness clip. So get the wires in there and press it together to lock it. Plug the wiring harness back into the motor and then making sure that it locks into place. Okay, we're going to put the pump back in. We're going to put the rear bracket in first to make it easier. Once the pump's on the motor, it's kind of hard to get that back in there, so we're just going to lay it in the back like that. And then we'll go ahead and grab the pump and swing it back over the motor. Make sure you look at the flats on the shaft in the pump. The motor may have turned. You may have to adjust it so the pump slides back on right. Once you have it down, reach down and snap that rear clip on, and then do the front one. Okay, we have everything reinstalled. Make sure you get the washer up onto its feet as soon as possible so no oil drains out of the gear case. Now that we're done with the repair, we can lift the machine back up on its feet. Make sure you get somebody to help you. The machine's very heavy. To install the hoses, carefully thread them onto the water valve. Make sure you don't cross thread them and strip the valve, otherwise you'll have to replace that. Tighten it down by hand and then snug it down with your channel locks. To install the drain line, just push it onto the white fitting till it seats, and then grab your pliers and move the clamp down into the clamp section. There's actually 2 lines on this hose that has the word clamp in between it that tells you where to put the clamp. So make sure it's right there so it gets held on properly. Now that you have the machine reassembled, you can go ahead and plug it back in, turn the water back on, and take it for a test spin. Thanks for joining us for another successful repair brought to you by AppliancePartsPros.com. Check out our other repair videos on our site, Facebook, and YouTube.